you swam in the Olympics? The most common reaction to this realization is disbelief. The next question is typically about how much dedication it must take to become an Olympic athlete. Well, dedication is absolutely a necessity to all success. It's certainly not what sets the elite apart. And in my case, it's not what drove me to become the best in the world. Being relentless is the key quality. The official definition is showing zero decrease in intensity, consistency, and pace. I'll say that one more time because it's so important. Showing or promising zero decrease in intensity, consistency, or pace. For me, being relentless is what drove me through the ups, the downs, the challenges of my career. It's something that I believe every single person in this room can attain and develop as long as they find and define that need, that goal that completes you, that goal that's just as important as breathing and sleeping. For me, being extraordinary and becoming the best in the world was so important that it was my entire world. And that's what allowed me to really maintain that relentless spirit throughout my career. According to my parents, I came out swinging. I was the most annoying, impatient, competitive little kid. Huge credit to my brother, because if there was a competition from running up the steps at an amusement park to who could eat their breakfast, their Cheerios the fastest, to a family badminton game on vacation, I was in it to win it. Luckily, my parents were nothing but supportive of my crazy. They put me in the driver's seat and always empowered me to go after all of my dreams and all of my goals. There were even times where this swimsuit right here, I would fight with them to try to go to bed in my suit because I loved it that much. Now that's a little crazy. I'll never forget, I was about 8 years old, and we were doing a set of sprints, and the set was really hard. My teammates and I were huffing and puffing, and I didn't know if I could keep going and keep competing. And suddenly something flipped in my head. I honestly don't know what it was. I felt like, okay, maybe I could go a little faster. Maybe I could push a little bit harder. Maybe I could kick a little faster. And it worked. It wasn't fun by any means. It was actually quite painful. However, I remember finishing that set and saying, oh, I found this extra gear. I went home that night and told my dad that I had found deep down. He laughed and was like, honey, what does that mean? I told him, Dad, it's deep down. It's just that extra gear that you find that allows me to beat people. And he was like, okay, whatever works. Fast forward to 2003. I was 14 years old, and I was going to try to make my first Olympic team. At that point, I had already declared to my coaches, my teammates, my friends, and anyone who would listen that I was going to make an Olympic team. I didn't know when, but I knew I needed to make it happen. At this point, I was doing extra pull-ups, I was doing extra squats, and I was swimming 10,000 yards in a pool at least 3 times a week solo. For those of you who don't know swimming too much, think about running a 10K and how much that is challenging. Now think about doing it in the water. I'll never forget even a time where a Saturday morning I was tasked with swimming 10 sprints. This time, compared to when I was 8, it wasn't just up and back, it was up and back 8 times. And I had to do this 10 times. I was tasked with trying to hit American record pace at the age of 14. And I failed each and every time that morning. I remember leaving the pool, tears in my eyes, no, not tears in my eyes, crying, full-on crying, disappointed and embarrassed that I had not been able to achieve this practice goal. I called my coach and told him, I'm doing that again. And he said, what? I said, I'm doing that again. I want to hit that pace. I need to hit that pace. So he said, okay. So my mom, I still don't have my driver's license yet, so my mom drove me back to the pool that Saturday afternoon when most of my friends were at the movies or at the mall, as they should be, and I did the set over again. I hit every single pace, and I left that pool feeling victorious and feeling proud that I let my intensity and strength and power come through again. Fast forward now to the prelims of the 2004 Athens Olympic Games. At this moment, I was in the ready room, and I was feeling nothing like an Olympian. I was feeling like a terrified, scared little 15-year-old, which the 15-year-old part was right. I'll never forget sitting there, and I was full of terror, and I lacked confidence because in the trials, I had failed to swim a smart race. I took it out far too fast, and I remember almost not advancing to the finals at the trials. But ready or not, they marched us out, and the intense August Athens heat hit me like a spotlight. I walked out, and I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. My teammates were yelling, "Go, Katie, go, USA," and I felt like I was 5 miles away. I dove in, and my body seized up. I felt like I was watching myself, and it wasn't me in my actual body. Let me pause for a moment and explain, for those of you who aren't familiar with swimming, what a 400 IM actually is. A 400 IM is the decathlon of swimming. It's 100 meters of each stroke: butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. It's probably one of the most painful events you can do. And guess what? I won the lotto because it was my best event. Fortunately, it was one of the most rewarding feelings and rewarding events when you break a record or go a best time. So back to that decathlon of a race. I hit the 250-meter mark, and my body was just frozen. All I could think about was just getting to the end. I was scrambling and just surviving. I touched the wall, and my heart sank. I turned around and saw number 6 near my name. I knew I had not advanced to the finals. I crawled out and promptly threw up all over the deck. It wasn't from anything other than just pure pain. I had so much lactic acid built up in my body. My coaches tried to shield me and keep the cameras away from capturing a moment that I definitely did not want to remember. At this point, looking back, I don't know how I didn't quit just then and there. But once again, that relentless spirit that I captured when I was 8 years old rose up again. I had one more race, the 200 IM, so half, a little better. I finished 7th, which to many, 7th in the world at the age of 15 is an accomplishment. I left my head hanging low, disappointment, and embarrassment. All I wanted was a medal for Team USA. I flew back home, took about a week off, and told my coach, I want to conquer the event that just conquered me. So we sat down, devised a plan, and he told me that we were going to do a set so hard that the 400 IM was just going to look like a walk in the park. I took a deep breath, said, okay. He also said, you're not going to know when it's going to happen. You're just going to have to be ready for it that day. So anyone who knows me personally knows that I am not the most easygoing, go with the flow, gray area type of girl. So now commenced the most anxiety-ridden 60 days of my entire life. Every single day I walked in. Today? Is today the day? Nope, today's not the day. You're just doing another 8,000 yards. It's fine. One rainy Friday morning, I will never forget it. He said, today's the day. So it was 10,000 yards again, but it ended at the end of those 10,000 yards with an 800-meter IM for time. I finished that set and slept for the next 8 hours. My mom had to come in and ask me if I was okay. What I really learned from that entire experience, though, is it's all about the process. It's all about the details. And it really allowed me to have confidence then moving forward because I knew that if I could do that, I could do anything. I could do 400 meters at a time. I just did 10,000. So fast forward to 2007, the 400 IM finals at the Australian World Championships in Melbourne. I'll let this video do the rest of the talking.
An insurmountable lead, perhaps, as she goes into the freestyle leg, and she's a second under world record pace. Martinova it is in second place, and then it's Riley, and then it's Rice, followed by Bardock, but the crowd gets behind the American. They can sense a world record here. Katie Hoff doing it well. She has about 65 metres still to swim.
She's got just enough left in her legs. She's trying as hard as she can. You can see that her legs are fatiguing, her legs are dropping it off. The American girls are working their turns beautifully. 150 to go. She just needs to sprint it as hard as she can.
Still right on world record pace. Katie Hoff. Big gap back there to second place, Martinova, but it's all Hoff, the defending champion. She won gold as a 15-year-old in Montreal. 2 years down the track, she's come to Melbourne. She's come to take gold, and she's come to take a world record. Katie Hoff. Katie Hoff, the silver going the way of Martinova, close for the bronze. It's going to be taken by Rice ahead of Riley. A world record, a magnificent...
Okay, I did it. At that moment, it had all been worth it. The tears, the stress, the pain, and everything that I experienced up until that point. I was able to carry that momentum all the way through into the 2008 Olympic trials. At this point, I was a seasoned veteran. I had swum in multiple world championships. I had broken my first world record. And I felt like nothing could stop me. I went on at those trials to win 5 events. I rebroke my world record in the 400 IM and broke 2 American records. What could go wrong, right? That's how life goes. So at this point, the media had noticed things, similarities between Michael Phelps and myself. I'm sure everyone knows Michael Phelps' name, which is quite an honor that the title of female Michael Phelps was being placed on my shoulders. However, I didn't have 5 world records like Michael Phelps. And I didn't have the type of schedule that Michael had in terms of best events. I only had 1 or 2 best events. So I went into those Olympic Games ready to take on my ultimate goal, my Olympic gold medal. We're back to the prelims, day 1 of the 400 IM, the same spot I had been a terrified little girl 4 years earlier. This time I was confident, I was ready. I swam a strong, very smart prelim race and qualified top 3 heading into finals. I won't lie if I said I wasn't a little bit scared still, but again, that relentless spirit inside pushed me forward. I could not decrease my intensity, my pace, or my strength. I headed in to the finals, walked out, and dove in. You didn't get to see the beginning of this race, but I always swam a very steady first 200 meters, and I made my move on the 3rd length in the breaststroke. I kept at the hip of my 2 competitors, and made my move on that 3rd 100. Unfortunately, they made a move too. I battled with every ounce of energy in my being and came into the wall and touched. I turned around and saw number 3 near my name. Well, it was my first Olympic medal. Something inside me sunk. I had still not achieved that need, that ultimate goal that I lived and breathed for. I went on later to win a silver medal in the 400-meter freestyle, and our relay team won a bronze in the 4x200 freestyle relay. However, I left those Olympic Games feeling like something was missing. All I could think was no golds, no golds, no golds. I walked away from those games disappointed. Many people ask me, oh my gosh, you just went to the Olympics and won 3 medals. Are you so lucky? Was it so amazing? And this is actually one of the first times I've admitted, honestly, it wasn't. I hadn't accomplished my need. While I look back now and am proud of my Olympic medals, at the time I couldn't look at them. This time, it took a little bit longer for me to find that relentless spirit to push me forward, to drive me towards the next goal. I went up and down for a couple years, and it took some time, it took some tears, it took some healing moments to get back on my feet. I finally found that rhythm about 2 years before the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. However, a shooting pain in my side suddenly sidelined that momentum, that passion. 7 weeks later, I was diagnosed with a pulmonary embolism in my lungs. For those of you who don't know what that is, because I didn't, it's 2 blood clots, or I had 2. The blood clot in your lungs. At that moment, I still had swimming and becoming the best in the world so much that they told me I'd have to go on blood thinners. And I asked them, is that going to affect my endurance? The doctors and my husband both shook their head like, this is about your life. This is about living. So in December of 2015, I decided to close a chapter on my life and retire from the sport of swimming. It was time to regroup and redefine a new need. I needed a little bit of separation from the sport, and so I decided to try my hand at the corporate world. This was a completely new challenge, especially because I had just gone from trying to be the best in the world to an entry-level job. I won't lie that there were a lot of tears and a lot of moments where I didn't know if I had the strength to start over again. For 20 years, I was Katie the swimmer. That's who I was. And now I had to figure out who Katie the person could be. But what I realized after a couple of years was that my need hadn't changed that much at all. My need was still to feel extraordinary in what I'm doing. Once I figured that out, that relentless spirit inside of me came up once again and drove me through the ups and the downs and all of the challenges that life kept throwing my way and still throws my way. So what I've come to realize is that it doesn't matter where you're from, what you're doing, your DNA. As long as you find that deep down gear and to find that goal that means more to you than anything else in this world, that relentless spirit will rise up inside of you and allow you to take on and challenge anything that comes across your path. So go out there, don't look back, and be relentless. Thank you.